The story of Stephen Hawking doesn't begin with greatness. It begins with uncertainty, doubt, and a future that looked brutally unfair. Imagine being a young student at Cambridge, someone curious but not extraordinary, not the obvious genius people later assumed he always was. In fact, Hawking once described himself as somewhat lazy, relying more on natural ability than discipline. Life felt open, undefined, full of possibilities, and then everything changed. At just 21 years old, he was diagnosed with ALS, a disease that slowly destroys muscle control, and doctors gave him only 2 years to live. 2 years. At an age when most people are just beginning to dream, he was told his life was almost over. At an age when most people are just beginning to dream, he was told his life was almost over. For a while, everything collapsed inside him. Motivation disappeared, purpose felt meaningless, and the future looked empty. But slowly, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't instant, but it was powerful. He realized that if his time was limited, then wasting it would be the biggest mistake he could make. So he returned to his work, not because life became fair, but because he decided to use whatever time he had left. And here's what no one expected. Those 2 years didn't define his life. He kept going, working under the belief that time was short. That pressure didn't break him, it sharpened him. As his condition worsened and his body began to fail, his mind expanded even further. While he was losing the ability to walk, write, and eventually speak, he was diving deeper into the mysteries of the universe. He explored questions most people never even think about: black holes, time, and the origins of everything. Communicating one word at a time through a machine, he still managed to explain ideas that changed science forever. His work on Hawking radiation proved that black holes are not completely black, reshaping how scientists understand the universe. But what makes his story truly powerful isn't just intelligence, it's perspective. Hawking never lived a fair life. He couldn't move freely, couldn't speak naturally, and couldn't experience life like most people around him. But instead of focusing on what he lost, he focused on what he still had, and that's where most people struggle. We spend too much time thinking about what's missing, what's unfair, what didn't go our way, and in doing that, we ignore what's still possible. Hawking understood something most people don't. Fairness is not required for greatness. In fact, sometimes unfair situations shape extraordinary outcomes. If his life had been completely normal, maybe he wouldn't have developed the same urgency and focus. The very thing that seemed like it would end his life became the force that defined it. That doesn't mean hardship is good, but it does mean your response matters more than the hardship itself. Hawking didn't wait for things to get better, he worked with what he had. Over the years, he became one of the most recognized scientists in the world. His book, A Brief History of Time, brought complex ideas to millions, and his work inspired people far beyond science. But none of that happened because life was easy. It happened because he refused to let difficulty set his limits. Even near the end of his life, his curiosity never faded. He kept asking questions and pushing forward in the only way he could. There's a deeper lesson here. Most people are waiting for the right time, the right conditions. But life rarely gives you perfect conditions. It's unpredictable and often unfair. If Hawking had waited for fairness, he would have done nothing. Instead, he started with what he had and kept going. So many people give up early, not because they can't continue, but because things didn't go as planned. One setback, one unfair moment, and they stop. But Hawking faced far more and still built a life that changed the world. That's not luck. That's mindset. Whatever challenges you're facing right now, the principle is the same. Life doesn't owe you fairness, but it gives you a choice. You can focus on what's missing, or you can focus on what's possible. You can wait, or you can act. You can let your situation define you, or you can define yourself despite it. So if you feel like your situation is too difficult or too unfair, remember this. Someone who was told he had only 2 years to live ended up reshaping our understanding of the universe. Not because life was fair to him, but because he didn't need it to be. And you don't need perfect conditions either. You just need to start, to keep going, and to refuse to give up. Maybe your progress will be slow. Maybe it will feel frustrating. But greatness starts with a decision. A quiet decision to keep moving forward even when it's hard. So whatever you're chasing, don't wait for fairness. Start now, use what you have, and keep pushing forward. And if this story changed how you see your own challenges, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes, the right story at the right time can change everything.